Alright gang, I'm making the hinges for the bubble top, and I've got it set up so the hinge will fit underneath the cowl of the body, and this will sit right up on the surface, and it'll just work like so. And it's small, and I've got it all compact so it fits in that tiny little space I've got. I got a couple of rotor Allens that are chamfered on the edge here from a Harley, and I've also got the inside of this, if you can see that, there you go, chamfered there. So this will sit flush and get a better grip and surface area when it gets bolted to the bubble top ring. And what I've got here is the jig and all my bits, and we're going to put this together and weld up our next hinge. And I'm not going to do a complete weld on these because, you know, I got to test them out on the car first and make sure everything works. And then I'll go spend the big money. First thing I'll do is get this little piece welded up, and we'll just tack weld all this, and that'll be that. We'll take it out and I'll show you. Alright gang, something I've ascertained here is I I still got to finish welding this up, obviously, and dress it off so it looks pretty. But this will sit in here. The holes are right size and everything. This will sit nice, and the bubble will bolt up here, and my piston will come out of here somewhere to actuate the top. But I'm thinking when this moves, that's going to hit. See that there in the very front? That's pretty far up. But I don't want any mishaps later on after I get body filler and paint on here. So I'm thinking I'm going to shave off maybe a good 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch of the front of this. And you know, if it works later on, when I get this under bracket made, the piece I'm going to fiberglass underneath, and I try this out, you know, when it's fixed and more definite, the movement, then I'll know, and we'll give it a try then. But I think it's very close. It's going to come up and maybe be, you know, maybe going to hit and not get a good full swing. So, and no worries. We'll take care of it, and everything's going to work out just fine. So, I guess right now the next thing I got to do is figure out the bracket for underneath and get that all tack welded. So, why don't I go do that now? Alright guys, this is the apparatus I've come up with, and I got my hinges just loosely bolted on. I know they're not going to clear the body, but I still want to get this bracket I made up and in the body. I'll bring that up so I can show it to you. I made little tabs like this that I can fiberglass over on the ends and everything, and there's the, I should probably set this down and show you, but these little tabs I welded onto the strap steel. So those will be on the body like this, and oh, there we are. And then when you hit the switch for the bubble, it'll go up like that. You see how they hit? So I got to shave a little bit off right there. So right now, I want to get at least the bracket positioned on the other side of the body, and I can always unbolt the hinges and work on those later. Alright, well I did my math right, and it sits nice and flush, so no worries there. But we knew we were going to have the problem here. So I definitely have to cut some of this back. So that's why I left the hinge loose. I'm going to unbolt it, take it out, we're going to cut that back. And we're also going to drill some holes in the fiberglass and bolt that under bracket to the body. Alright gang, we had a mishap. What can I tell you, eh? So, this is the situation that we had here, okay? So listen up, I'll tell you what we did. My point of pivot was too close. And, well, you know, the point of pivot would be here, and about an inch and a half forward of it would be where the bubble ring was. So what was going to happen was my hinges were working perfect. I had them down pat. But I forgot about the bubble ring being a little bit forward, and that was going to rub on the body cowl. So I was like, it dawns on me, kids, I'm telling you now, this is why in like junior high school, algebra, geometry, all that stuff, pay attention. You want to do simple, stupid crap like this? That's a big help. I wasn't that great. That's why I'm struggling right now. But it dawned on me my pointed pivot had to be way further forward of my bubble ring in order for it to come, not just go like this, but to come up and away and clear. So that's what we did. So I'm holding here, I had made a brand new piece. It'll go up in the body like so, and these are 3.5 inches further back and about 3/8 of an inch further down. You remember what the hinges look like from previously in this episode? Well, this is my new hinge. This hinge now is a lot longer here in the throw, and this angle of the dangle has got a whole different animal of wangle bangles, spangle, blah. So there we go. So she sits in here like so, and see if I can get that for you. I don't have the hardware, but you know, up and down, you know how it works. It'll open just as much as Ed Roth's bubble did. So just give me a few mementos, and I'm gonna bolt this stuff together, and we'll be back to square one. Okay, gang, I've got my mock-up bubble ring. This is the one I use to ascertain the circle on the body. It's a warped piece of wood, it's no good. But I haphazardly just drilled holes through it and nut and bolted it together on the hinges just to make sure everything's going to work and everything's copacetic. And I have to say, it came out pretty nice. Here we go, man. So there you go. That's the full extent of the throw, and it's just this, you know, right in the same neighborhood as Ed Roth's. Because like I said, you don't have a lot of room down there for a whole lot more hinge. So there you go. I'm very happy with that. I think it's great. I've got the clearance in there that I need. And I'll zip that camera in and I'll show you. All right, gang, what I'm thinking is, now that I got the bubble top hinges and all that bolted in, I got my mock-up bubble ring in place. It goes up and down and it clears and does everything it's supposed to do. I have to get the little convertible top pistons, I call them, but they're linear screw motors that make the bubble top go up and down. I got to get those in place. In order to get them in place, I have to access into that little, the outside of the body and the inside panel of the body. I got to get in there. And the way to do that is when you look at pictures of the Beatnik Bandit, it has like what looks like door panels or door cards for you guys in the UK. And behind that is a hole that goes in there, and that's how Ed Roth accessed the convertible top pistons in the real Bandit. So I have to make the door cards, and this is how we're going to do it. I have here, from the model kit, the door card, or the door panel. I'll show it to you. And so the Revell model kits are actually very, very accurate, or as accurate as can be. And with a caliper or a veneer, what I did was, I took it and then I measured like this. I took that measurement, I went over it, I found out what it was, like, 1.3745. It's a 1/25th scale kit. So I took my 8675309, and I multiplied it by 25, and that gives me the measurements. So by the measurements, and remember, that would be this, an upholstered piece. So that means the material makes it a little bit bigger. It's 12.5 inches tall, and from the furthest point, front to back, it's 36 inches. So that seems to be about right. So I'm figuring there's going to be about 1/4 of an inch on the outside radius for the padding and the piping and everything that the interior shop's going to have to do. So I'm making mine 12 inches tall and 35.5 inches long. And I made up a little schematic right there, what I got. And so now, instead of guessing off the top of my head how we're going to get this to be the right size, I'm going to use this. And there's a cool way on how we do this. So let me show you. So what I do is, I take my little tiny model car piece and I put it on top of this viewer. And this overhead projector, I've had this for a long time, and it has worked wonders in situations like this. So I turn this thing on, and it casts the shadow of the door panel way over there on the other side of the shop onto the piece I'm going to use to make the door panel. So let me show you what that looks like. So I've got this really big, I don't know what kind of material it is, but it'll work for a door panel, because it's got some flexibility to it and whatnot. And this was actually from George McMullen. He's building a clone of the Uncertainty, and he's out of Ohio. And I went to the Detroit Autorama in the basement, and he set up his unfinished, in-the-works Uncertainty car that he's cloning. And I set up the Beatnik Bandit. He made this big model box top, so they looked like two big model kits, which was pretty cool. And I was like, you know what would be really neat if I used that for the door cards on the Beatnik Bandit clone. So that's why I'm using this. But what I got here is this, and I've already done my measuring on the back. So I've measured out a big square that is here, and it's 12 by 35.5 inches. And you can see here the shadow of that door card. Let me kill the lights. So you can see it really good right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the camera till this door card fits inside my 12-inch by 35.5-inch box, and then I'll trace it, and that should be the right size to fit in the Beatnik Bandit clone. Alright gang, so my shadow falls pretty much perfectly inside that square that I made. I got my Sharpie in hand. We're going to go ahead and just make a tracing of this. It'll be a little loose, a little sketchy, but we'll clean it up later. And then that'll be our template for the two door panels. There you go, let's see what we got. That looks pretty good, not too shabby, I guess. So let me get this up on a stand so we can cut it out. And we'll compare it to the photographs we have of the real car and see where we're at with that. Alright guys, I got my door cards cut out, and I do think it's hilarious that the Beatnik Bandit is on the back side of these. You know? So thanks Mr. McMullen. And I don't know what kind of board it is, but it's pretty stiff and stout, and we'll do what we gotta do. So I'm going to draw an outline like I just did on both sides, and I do have a piece of plywood here as a reinforcement, and there's another one way up here. So I'm going to cut this all open in the center so I have access to the inside cavity between the cockpit and the outside of the body, and that's where the convertible top pistons are going to go. So, and at some point, maybe next episode or something, I'll have to figure out how I'm going to mount these to the side. But, you know, it's going to have to be some kind of a clip or a pin, so I'll go about an inch or two inside of my scribe line that I've just made. So let me scribe the other side, and we'll start cutting these holes open, and I'll ascertain what and where we have to go and what we got to do. So there we go, two big giant gaping holes. Let me vacuum this itching powder up and let me ascertain how I'm going to do this, the position of the Huzamawatsi and the Hujabagamazi and the bingity bobbity boopity skippity boppity bop, and I'll be back when I get that sorted out. Alright, what I've come up with are these little brackets, and I've gotten them set up so the electric screw motor will sit in here, and I'll make up spacers that'll shift it from side to side and what have you. But this will sit in and it has just enough, it'll move like this, it'll articulate just a little bit. And I've got it set up with a couple of holes. And what I plan on doing is getting it inside here, bolted down to a piece of wood I've laminated in there. And after that's set up and everything works, then I'll probably take a couple of bolts, I'll weld them to this, and then I can set it up and finalize it down the road. I'll zip that camera in there and I'll show you the piece of wood I've got in there and how all this stuff's going to sit. What I'm planning on is one of these little brackets that just sit right in here, like so. And what I have in here is a piece of plywood laminated to the sides. So now we have our screw motor and the hole we blew out here for the arm to go up and down, and that will sit in here, kind of something like that. Oh, it's going to move around on me, of course, now. But it's going to move and articulate just that little bit as this goes up and down. So what I've got to do is get that trajectory just right, get this all set in here, bolt it up, and when I get that all figured out and this moves in and out of the hole nice, I'll be after this here part of the ring to make a bracket for that. Alright gang, I tell you, I've been messing with this for quite some time. I started filming and I shut the camera off because I just couldn't get the trajectory right. And I'm going to guess that each side may be a little different. I've got more clearance inside the cavity here than I do in this side. Because right about here inside the body, where it kind of comes in and curves down, well, this is a little quicker and this goes in like that more. So I had to make it so the rod didn't hit the body all the time because it echoes, it makes this whole thing go whirr. So I had to get that sweet spot, and wow, I got more time on that than I thought I would. But right now, I think we got pretty good progress. This is just one side I got going. And that's the right thing right there. I got a hole here. I had to keep, it started out nice, but I had to keep drummeling it open to get clearance. And as long as it stays under the bubble ring when it's closed, I think we're good to go. And I may have to go back in and clean it up, maybe do a little bit of fiberglass work. But it's not like we didn't see that coming, right? But hey, this is as far up as Ed Roth's bubble went pretty much. Maybe it went up a little bit more, maybe it didn't, I have no idea. But hey man, that's the magic right there. The bubble goes up and down. So let me set this back up again, and I'll give you some close-ups on how all this stuff works. There you go, gang, you gotta love it. So all I gotta do now is the same thing on this side. Oh yeah! But before I go ahead and do that, I want to make sure I have all these screws set. There's supposed to be 2 screws for this bracket. I want to drill the holes in the plywood because I got this stuff just vice gripped and C-clamped in place, the lower bracket, and get that all set up, screwed, bolted in tight. Give this another try, make sure it's all good to go, and then we'll set the other side up. And then we'll give it another try, watch it go up and down again. Alright guys, there was a whole lot of trial and error. Moving brackets this way, that way, left to right, trying to find that sweet spot. Hogging out the holes I already drilled for the piston to have clearance to go up and down. And as it goes up and down, that arm kind of travels a little bit. Test dry running each one individually. I've got them both in here. I've got them both wired up. And you can see I've got them very makeshift, the wires just kind of masking tape together and everything running out the side of the body next to the battery charger on the other side there. So I guess let me go over and get the battery charger turned on, and we'll give this thing a dry run with both of the screw motors going up and down. I think it works out great, and that's the right thing. And what I'll end up doing is I'll transfer all these screw holes and everything over to the bubble ring that I will be using in the final assembly. And I'm sure when the bubble's in here, it'll tighten that up and make it a little bit stiffer. So I guess next thing I gotta do is figure out how I'm gonna mount that bubble. And I think at this point, maybe we'll cut this short, make this an episode, and I'll see you guys next episode. Thank you very much to my Patreon members. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you to everybody that stops and shops at spritzbyfritz.com. I very much appreciate it. It helps the project move along. And hey man, if you're on Instagram, check me out for Fun with Fritz Fridays. Follow me there. I'm Spritz by Fritz. And thanks very much. I'll see you guys again next time.